A transport truck with blackout lights grinds to a stop behind a berm. Diesel hangs in the air. No insignias. No questions. Your press credentials feel like a costume, and your pocket notebook feels like a weapon. Somewhere nearby, a real CIA case officer already knows your name. This is your life, level by level, inside a black ops unit. Act 1. Arriving in shadows. New environment, old enemies. The first thing you notice is the silence between generators. Not peace discipline. You step into a plywood briefing hut where maps are taped with green duct tape and grid lines are marked in grease pencil. A sergeant checks your camera body like it's contraband. Your cot is a canvas sling beside a radio rack that never stops clicking. Chow is instant coffee, cold eggs, and a cigarette you don't even want. Every night you walk past the burn barrel and count the exits without meaning to. You keep your notes in duplicate, one set for your story, one set for your handler. You tell yourself it's just information. You tell yourself it's just survival. You tell yourself you're only observing. The CIA officer, civilian clothes, military posture, offers guidance with a hand that never quite relaxes. He tells you where you can stand on the flight line, what you can photograph, which names never get written down. Your access is a badge and a leash, and both tied in the same way. Act 2. Embedded and exposed. Close quarters, closer scrutiny. You ride out in the third seat of a dusty Helix, wedged between a medic's pack and a Pelican case of night vision tubes. The team moves on hand signals and clipped whispers. At the ORP, they pull security in a half moon while you kneel in the dirt, camera lens capped, waiting for the nod. Your stomach stays hollow. Your mouth tastes like metal. When contact snaps open short, sharp bursts, you don't freeze. You drop behind a low wall, flatten your body, and keep your head down like you've been taught. You shout a distance you can actually see. You pass a tourniquet from the medic's kit without fumbling. Later, someone says, "Press guy didn't fold." Someone else says, "Press guy knows too much." Back at the base, boots thump past your cot while you pretend to sleep. The team leader asks casual questions that aren't casual. Hometown, editors, prior embeds. Why your Russian is better than it should be. You tell yourself the answers are clean. You tell yourself the sweat is normal. You tell yourself the questions will stop. They don't. Respect feels good for about 5 seconds, and then it feels like a spotlight. You've learned their routines and their jokes. Now you start learning their files. One wrong document, one overheard call sign, and the unit doesn't just question you, it tests you. Act 3. Lines blur. You stop reporting events and start shaping them. A file folder shows up on your cot like it grew there. No label, just a binder clip and a faint smell of JP8. Inside, laminated target photos, a hand-drawn diagram of a culvert, and a contact schedule written in block letters: time, place, phrase, counterphrase. Your camera sits beside it, heavy as a brick. Outside, the radio rack spits numbers. Somewhere, a helicopter idles, impatient. They start asking for little things. A head count at a market. Which militia commander limps. What the Soviet advisors are calling the new checkpoint on Route 7. You tell yourself it's background. You tell yourself it's safer if you cooperate. You tell yourself the story stays yours. Then you catch yourself steering your interviews toward names that match the photos. A dead drop becomes part of your route. Cigarette pack under a cracked mile marker. Film canister in a drainage pipe. A chalk axe on a rusted gate. You learn which checkpoints take dollars, which take cigarettes, which take fear. You're still holding a notebook, but now it's a steering wheel. The line isn't crossed in a sprint. It's crossed the way a tide takes a shoreline, quiet, patient, and total. Act 4. Unravel and reveal. The unit tests your loyalty with consequences, not questions. They sit you under a bare bulb in the commo hut, the kind that hums and makes everyone look tired. A folding table, 2 metal chairs, your cassette recorder placed neatly in the center like evidence. The team leader doesn't raise his voice. He just slides your notebook back to you, open to a page you don't remember writing so clearly. They run drills you can't call drills. A new route to the latrine that forces you past a locked connex. A random gear check that lingers on your camera battery compartment. A field op where you're told to stay behind, then blamed when you can't describe what happened. You tell yourself it's paranoia. You tell yourself professionals are always suspicious. You tell yourself you can outwait it. Then the betrayal shows its shape. A friendly source you introduced is picked up within hours by the wrong side, at the right time. A Soviet patrol that should have been blind is suddenly waiting, exactly where your last report said they wouldn't be. Your handler's instructions arrive with no return frequency, just a time window and a warning. Burn everything you can't carry. You realize you aren't being watched to be protected. You're being watched to be weighed. Act 5. Escape or embrace. You decide whether to run with the truth or become the operation. You pack like a thief in your own tent. 2 rolls of film, 1 clean passport, 1 dirty one, a folded map with greased pencil circles that don't belong to any newsroom. You unscrew the backplate of your camera and pull out the microdot taped inside, smaller than a grain of rice, sharp enough to cut your life in half. The exfil window is a 15-minute gap between guard changes at the motor pool. A deuce and a half with no markings. A driver who never meets your eyes. The CIA officer gives you a last instruction without saying it's an instruction. Where to sit, what not to ask, when to keep your hands visible. You tell yourself you're leaving clean. You tell yourself you'll tell the story later. You tell yourself you still have a choice. Halfway to the strip, a new call sign crackles over the radio, one you heard on the Soviet side, weeks ago, spoken like a joke. The driver turns down a side road you didn't know existed. You don't reach for the door. You adjust your notebook on your knee and start taking notes like it's normal. Escape is a headline. Embrace is a contract written in ink you can't see until it dries. No rank patch ever appears on your sleeve. No medal ever touches your palm. You move through motor pools, safe houses, pressed pens, and backrooms with the same 2 tools: access and silence. You learn that betrayal isn't a single act, it's a daily habit, practiced in small, reasonable steps. And the hardest part is how ordinary it feels to keep walking.